All right. Hey guys, this is our special quarantine. I should look at the camera. That's what I should do. This is the special quarantine episode of Pizza Ministries. As you may know, as you do know, things have been going kind of crazy around the world. Isn't it weird to be like part of a worldwide thing like this? It's very strange. But I don't know. The quality may dip a little bit in this episode. We don't have Keith because he is at his house with his 5 bajillion kids, and we don't want to infect them. So hopefully when we send this to you, Keith, it won't be terrible. But bear with us. This may be the format of the new episodes for a little bit. Maybe we'll learn along the way. I don't know. But I thought we would take some time to talk about, I don't know, just at least have a conversation with Adam about all the stuff that's happening and how we've been feeling, especially as youth ministers. I don't know about you, like, this sounds like I'm a bad youth minister, and I probably am, but if you were to tell me that I would get weeks off from not having to hold events or organize confirmation or anything like that, I'd be kind of happy about that. Like, a little break, a little vacation. It took me a while for it to hit me, but I don't know. I'm at a weird point where I'm actually like missing these kids. It's kind of strange.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I was on paternity leave for like a month.
Yeah.
And then I had the flu, not coronavirus, the flu, probably a month ago. And so I've had a lot of time not really doing anything.
Yeah.
And especially the week I had the flu, I like lost purpose in life. Like, it was bad because all I did was watch TV. I watched movies. I like read a bunch and like things that I was like, wow, this is going to be great. I get to watch whatever movie I want, but I just got so bored and just so dissatisfied with my life. I was like, there's got to be more to life than this at the end of that week. So yeah, I think I kind of already had a taste of like, oh man, yeah, it's not all great to be isolated and stuff because you need to be productive in some way. Even though I don't really like that idea, I found that like, I have to be productive. So I don't know. Yeah, I miss. Well, okay, I don't miss the teens yet. I think I will. But yeah, I'm just kind of looking for like, what can I still do like that has purpose and meaning? You know?
Yeah. For me, it was like this year's youth group has been great. We don't get the biggest numbers, but for the first time in a while, we're having kids show up that like aren't ashamed to be there. Like before, we would have kids that would show up every week and they weren't forced to go, but when they were there, it would take them a while to get them out of their shell because they wanted to be perceived as the apathetic person who doesn't care. This year, and surprisingly they're freshmen, we have a group of kids that like love being there and they're not ashamed to like share it. So it's unfortunate that it happened with this group.
And we had to cancel our retreat for next week.
Man, dude. I was excited about it. I didn't think of our Kairos retreat. We run a Kairos retreat for high school seniors in public school. And that's always something that's very fun and exciting. So I didn't have any negative feelings about that. But when we had, I don't know about you, Adam, but I was like grasping at straws trying to find a way to not cancel it because
yeah, I was being really optimistic and then crap. We gotta do this, but I mean, I was looking forward just to get away for a weekend, and it's like a small group of kids, so it's pretty. I don't know. It's not stressful like a confirmation retreat. There's like a ton of people, and a ton of things going on. So yeah, it was. But I don't know. I'm hoping we can reschedule, and it is hard because these seniors are graduating. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they won't have a graduation. A lot of people are canceling things, but. I'm hoping we can reschedule so that they can still go on a retreat like that.
Yeah, it's a really life-changing retreat. It really is. Yeah. I know, man. Just thinking about what the schedule is going to be like for all these high schoolers and I don't know if they're going to have to continue school in the summer. I don't know if they're going to be able to go to classes in the fall if they're going to any universities. Like, I feel for them, man. The uncertainty of everything brings so much anxiety.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know a lot of the private schools are going online, but I'm hearing that the public schools don't have the same resources. So they're not having classes, which, I don't know what that's going to look like.
Yeah. I mean, well, and it's my wife. She's a third grade teacher at a private school here, in one of the poorer parts of Ventura County, and they're not doing any online classes because you can't assume with certain individual or certain families like they could even afford the means to like participate in that stuff. So
and are they packets or? Yeah,
she created packets for them for 2 weeks. It's obvious that they're trying to be optimistic, but I don't know.
And I heard like San Francisco, if you are outside not shopping for food, you can get fined, right? Like they're on lockdown. That's nuts to me. Yeah. Like, I mowed my lawn today. Would I get fined if we were on lockdown? Like,
see, that's different. That's different. We're gonna be there.
You think so?
I think so. With the announcement that Governor Newsom announced, we're going to be there. From what I heard, they're pretty lax about it. Like, they'll give you warnings and stuff, but you can like mow your lawn. You can go for walks. You can do that stuff, but you can't gather. Wait, what'd you say?
I said you can go for a walk. That would be really interesting if you couldn't go outside.
Yeah, right. They're just. I'm assuming they're just enforcing like large groups of people.
Yeah. Okay.
Or groups of everyone keeps making the jokes that like large Catholic families are just illegal right now because they can't step outside.
There have been some good memes come out of this thing, I saw one though, like, eating a Taco Bell burrito on a toilet paper shortage really gives you some adrenaline. That was pretty good.
Oh my goodness. So things have been nuts. Spiritually, how have you been able to like keep up? Like, has that been on your mind at all? Like,
well, part of my Lenten goal, because I work at a parish, so you'd think this would be just second nature, was like, I'm going to go to daily mass 3 times a week for Lent.
You are sucking at Lent now.
I know that was like completely crossed off the list. And so I don't know. I think this has all made me realize a little bit that my prayer life has really been centered around daily mass and adoration. We have like 24/6 adoration. So now that I can't go to those, I can't go to mass, I can't go to adoration, it's made me really like think like, oh, what does my prayer life look like?
What are the blessings? I know that those are all bad things. I'm not trying to be obnoxious and say there's like a weird silver lining with everything. It is sad that we can't have perpetual adoration. It's sad that we can't receive the Eucharist. It's tragic.
Video adoration is not the same thing. I don't know. I'm looking at a picture, I don't know. I'm not saying it's not good, but it's hard for me to look at that as adoration.
Yeah, there's at a Steubenville conference once during like the big Eucharistic adoration on the second night, which is a beautiful thing. Like I love it so much, and there's so much healing that comes from it, and so much interaction with our God. I remember though, like. While Jesus was being processed around, I was watching the screen the whole time. Yeah. I was watching the screen of Jesus, and I was really moved by that. But then there was a point where it was like, why am I looking at the screen? Jesus is like right here. It actually happened to me once at a Clippers game. I am not a Clippers fan at all. I actually I have no opinion of well, this year I guess I do. It doesn't matter because basketball is postponed. Anyways, there was a time I got free Clipper tickets. It's the only time I'm able to like sit at the lower bowl of Staples Center because I don't make enough money to sit anywhere close to the floor. But This was when Blake Griffin was on the team, and he like dunked over a dude. He dunked over Timothy Mozgov. It's one of like the coolest dunks. It's always on like the top like 20 lists of dunks of all time. And I was there for that. You could see my face in certain YouTube videos as he's dunking, but my face isn't looking at the floor. I was looking at the screen of him dunking. And I remember instantly thinking like, that was cool that I saw that, but if I just looked down, like that would have been awesome.
It's like watching on the TV, yeah. And I think for me, I was at the Amazing Parish Conference in October, and Matt Maher was performing, and I've done it with adoration too. But specifically with Matt Maher, I was like staring at the screen because his face is huge on the screen. And then for a minute, I was like, wait a minute, why am I just, Matt Maher's right there. You know, if I just turn my head like just a few degrees, I can look at him directly.
It's funny how we think that way, but this isolation from that physical connection, that real personal connection that is not digital, it helps us understand what we may have been taking for granted.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, and I'm not trying to call you a terrible Catholic or anything, but we're supposed to like receive the Eucharist at daily Mass, or if we were to go to daily Mass and go to perpetual adoration, if that were the only elements of our spiritual life, we may be failing at a strong spiritual life. Like if we're not taking those beautiful, necessary things of our faith, and not going. And not implementing the graces that we receive during those devotions outside of that to prayer at home, it just I don't know if we're doing it right.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that it's made me look at is, you know, like what's my relationship with God outside of that church setting, which I think has been good for me. And you know, I do other things at home and you know, pray in different ways, but it was just kind of that reminder, like, oh, that's not there. Right. So what is, you know? I feel like I always really emphasize the relationship with Christ, which I think is important, and I think it's kind of made me like reflect on my own relationship with Christ in these times. Like, okay, how do I talk to God? Like, what am I inviting him into?
Right. Or maybe even not like a strong formal invitation, but like, am I allowing God subconsciously to be present in every aspect of my life?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what it is, like becoming more casual with just like talking to God, like not making it like a big thing. And I forget who says that, but to pray unceasingly, right?
I should know that too, actually.
I don't know. I've seen like my faith life grow in that way. Like if I just am comfortable talking to God, and I don't know, like I think there are times for formal prayers, but just that casualness of talking to him as a friend, right? And that's potentially cliche, but I think it's been really nice to just be able to talk to God casually.
For me, that was a big epiphany in my life, and I didn't realize that until after college. I went to. It sounds like I'm plugging them, but they're never gonna pay us. But like, I went to Franciscan University, but before that, I went to a very Orthodox. Yeah, we should start the Patreon just for my student loans. But, so I grew up in a very Orthodox parish. It was like half Latin, half English, and it's very beautiful with communion rails. So anything that looked modern, I perceived to be kind of evil, you know. And the casual nature of prayer just seemed irreverent to me.
Yeah.
And so any art that was created past a certain time, I just thought it was dumbed down and not reverent enough to I don't want to say appease, but to make God happy, right? Yeah. And then I went to Franciscan, which is it's a pretty conservative college doctrinally and all that stuff, but There's praise and worship there. That's a big thing. And I hated it. For the 3 years I was there, I hated it. And maybe it was just like a pride thing, but I didn't want to admit that it was good or holy. It wasn't until after that, for some reason, when I got hired as a youth minister, that the idea of having conversations with God, that's not a less important, less beautiful prayer. In fact, I could argue that casual nature with God is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I think back to my childhood, at least, and I would talk to God whenever he popped in my head. And it wasn't like prostrate in the sandbox or like or anything like that. God was very real at me, or real to me at that point. So yeah, I completely get that. The relationship with God is not just a Protestant thing. Like,
yeah, that can really feel like that with some groups of Catholics. And I think that could go into the scrupulosity part too, right? That we want to talk about a bit. But yeah, there can be kind of like a guilt or like But I mean, culturally, like my grandma was from Ireland, and she moved over here. I forget how old she was. I think my aunt was already born. But culturally, like I grew up not really knowing too much that I could just talk to God. Like it was very formal prayers. And so there was like kind of that expectation, like, oh, I have to say the 3 Hail Marys. I have to, repeat this over
which
and over
isn't
again.
bad, by the way, right?
No. But culturally, like that was all there was. And I think it was late in my grandma's life where she realized she could just talk to God. And I remember my mom kind of making comments like, yeah, like 90 something, my grandma realized that she could just talk to God as a friend.
That's cool that she had that realization at some point, though.
Yeah. And we had really cool conversations about it where, she died at 99, but she was like, so what do you think heaven is like? Like, what do you think purgatory is like? At 99. And those were the moments where I was like, oh man, this is awesome.
That is cool. And it is kind of fun as we talk about God in this way, that it does feel personal and it feels touching, but I do want to emphasize that I don't think formal or very orthodox prayer is not effective, because I do think that it helps us understand who God is, but that doesn't mean that it's one or the other type thing,
Yeah.
And it kind of brings us to our point of this whole episode, like that formality of the sacraments, which are absolutely miraculous, we are in dire need of them. How do we pursue God even if we can't receive the Eucharist? I'm terrified that confessions are going to be canceled soon. I talked to you about that a little bit. Like, how do you live your life without confessions, And I was talking, actually, what do you think about all that?
I mean, I've kind of thought about this because I used to watch The Walking Dead a lot. And so I would imagine, like, okay, so I don't see any Catholic priests in this show. I mean, you have, what's his name? Gabriel, who's like an Episcopalian priest. And
okay, I've never watched it. Surprisingly, I've never watched Walking Dead. I assumed he was a Catholic priest.
He was not. No, I've stopped watching after Rick disappeared. But but I would think, like, oh, what would you do, like, if there were no priests, if there was no confession? And I don't know. I think there is kind of like some reassurance in our faith that, and I've heard different priests talk about this, that the sacrament of reconciliation is this gift from God for him to pour out his mercy on us, for us to like tangibly know like that we've been forgiven. Like for a priest to say, in persona Christi, I absolve you of your sins, right? There's that reassurance, that peace where God is actually telling us directly. But that God isn't limited by that tangible sacrament, that God can still give us mercy and forgiveness outside of that if he wants to pour out that grace. So I think that gave me a lot of a lot of hope and peace. Like, okay, God has given us the sacrament, which is like probably one of the greatest things, right?
Well,
to go to confession.
It is a gift, yeah.
Yeah, but to also know that He's not bound by that, like that you couldn't be forgiven if you don't make it, and that's where the kind of that legalism in the faith can kind of kick in, right? It's like, well, I was driving to confession and I got hit by a truck and I was in a state of mortal sin, so I died. It's like, I don't know.
Or even, and I've been talking to our leaders about this. Well, I'm not talking in our group chat. I mentioned it once, but there's so many countries where Christianity is absolutely outlawed and people are getting killed, or they're secretly going to mass or secretly going to confession. You know, if for some reason they are unable to participate in these sacraments, are they doomed to hell? The answer is no. Like, they're not. No, I don't know much about their lives besides that, but it really helps us to understand, though, with all this stuff that's happening, because when they started limiting mass attendance, that was sad. Now that we cannot go to mass for the unforeseeable future, I'm going to say a month or two. That's what it seems like. Hopefully, God willing. You know, we could kind of put ourselves in the shoes of yearning for the Eucharist, like a lot of these people in other countries are doing. You know, it's heartbreaking, but I keep bringing up Steubenville conferences, and they should pay me because I keep bringing this stuff up. But there was, I think it was last year's conference. What happened? What did you say?
Apply it today at Steubenville.
Or at least just go to the conference or something. I don't know. Go to any conference if it's good. There are a handful of good ones. If it's Catholic. But last year was Father Mike Schmitz at the San Diego conference, and I don't know. It was very unorganized that year, which was a bummer. And at mass on the second day, my group was one of the last ones to go up and receive communion. And as we were going up, I somehow got in Father Mike Schmidt's line. And in the back of my head, it was like, oh, wow, like, this is cool. Like, I made a joke in my head, like, what if I got a blessing from Father Mike Schmitz? That would be kind of cool. And then I was like, no, you're an idiot. In my own head, obviously. Like, you're going to go receive communion. Like, who cares, right? You're going to receive Jesus Christ, right? And so I snapped myself out of it, ready to receive communion. And then they ran out of communion, like, right when I was there. So I ended up getting that blessing, but it was just like, ugh, that's a bummer. Like, it turned into a bummer. But I will say, and various saints have said this. I saw it on a Twitter post recently, but I didn't save it. I hope it's true. But there were saints that have brought up, like, that yearning for the Eucharist is a good thing. If you are unable to receive Jesus Christ frequently, that time when you do, oh man, it's going to be very powerful. And I feel like that's going to happen. I am praying to God that the teens we're not interacting with as much, the young adults, that they understand, like, man, we went months without the Eucharist. This time we're back is going to be beautiful.
Yeah, and not the opposite, because I think that's a fear people have too, where it's like, ugh, I have to go back to that. I don't want to go back, you know? And that, I think, could be a reality, and it's something we need to pray. And obviously, as youth ministers still work, I guess, against is just that complacency, where it's like, hey, I don't have to do anything, right? I don't want to go to mass anymore. I don't want to practice my faith. Like,
well, especially with youth ministers, we don't have an excuse, or a lot of us don't have an excuse to not interact with the people that we're ministering to. Like, we're doing Zoom meetings right now. I don't know what's going to look like on a youth ministry scale, but our young adult group just met for a Bible study yesterday. And it wasn't perfect, but there's something about the community and the willingness to talk about scripture without interruption that I could see. Even for me, who is one of the leaders, I felt at ease because people were willing to do this, you know, and that people were willing to pray with us.
Yeah, and I know I mentioned that to you, that we're trying Google Hangout. We might move it over to Zoom on Sunday, but I sent out a flock note to the confirmation candidates and got like a good number of the confirmation teens saying, hey, send me that link. And I was like, I was kind of like, oh, really? Like
they're gonna send
like,
a virus. That's what they're gonna do.
I was like, you want to join us on Sunday for a rosary and mass readings and check in? But I think that was cool to see. And not only do people get bored in isolation and lonely, but that desire for intimacy that is really at the center of the Catholic faith, I think kind of shines through there. And then also, I forget who I heard talking about this recently, but like we have a desire for God, and like that needs to be fulfilled as almost like a proof for God's existence. Like there is a hunger there that doesn't make sense.
I think that person you were talking to, I think his name was Saint Augustine.
No, well, probably indirectly. I think it was more like Catholic stuff you should know. But
okay, same thing. They're as smart as Augustine.
Yeah, but this was pretty much saying like we have that desire, like philosophically we have a desire, and that desire only makes sense if God actually exists.
Yeah, that's true. And
see that coming out.
Yeah, and you mentioned intimacy. The Eucharist only makes sense when you recognize it as a very intimate sacrament.
Yeah.
It's like awkwardly intimate,
Yeah.
like,
sometimes I feel like Robert California from The Office. He's like, do you want the nature metaphor or the sex metaphor?
And that's like Catholic faith sometimes. Like,
I know, right? It's like it's all about the relationship. It's all about intimacy. And the parish is always like, Adam, all you want to talk about is theology of the body. And I'm like, well, it really applies to a lot of things. It
does, man. It makes me uncomfortable saying it, but the Eucharist is very much that, dude. What other language do we have where two people become one?
Yeah, it's a wet piece, and you're walking up an aisle. You're walking slowly, and like what image is that, right? Like when a bride walking to the groom, in the sacrament. I mean, and they become one. Right. And for dudes, that's a little bit weird. I always tell the guys at Youth Ministry, like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, it is weird. But Jesus is the bridegroom. The church is the bride. And we are one with him every time we go to Mass.
It's nuts, dude. Oh, that's nuts. And it's funny because we could think of it like you're married, I'm married. And we always have an association with our spouses. Like, some people get annoyed by that. I don't get annoyed by that too much, but when I'm referred to like Brittany's husband or something like that, that's just inherently part of my identity. It's similar when we are frequently receiving Christ. We hope that people could see us and interact with us and say, oh, that person is one with Christ, that person. It's very interesting stuff.
Hearing that makes me wonder, it must be way more impactful for women who take their husband's name, right? Like they're changing their identity in that.
Yeah.
Where I haven't really thought about it like that, but like our baptism and receiving the Eucharist, like that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like I'm not just Adam Cross anymore. I'm Adam Cross, son of the living God,
Well, the sacrificial nature of the feminine side of a spousal relationship, there's so many layers of it. We could probably do another video of that, but there's so much sacrifice from the bride. And that's kind of what even us as men, when we take on this role, that's what we're called to do.
Yeah. There's a sacrificial part of receptivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Open something is to like deny your own will in some ways.
Not to say that men are void of that within marriages. I'm not saying that either. But there's just something.
The church is the bride, and
be subject to me. It says it in scripture. No, it doesn't. We could do another video on that.
Yeah, we should do that.
I know we chose that reading for our wedding, and I do get cringy looks every once in a while. But when you really unpack that reading, it's beautiful.
Yeah. We chose that one, and I was kind of giggling during my wedding because I knew there was people in like that were coming to the wedding that were going to be like, "Oh my gosh, this is so sexist, you know? And I was like, not at all, you know, this is...
Let it finish, let it finish. Well, they stop listening at a certain point, you know?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Exactly. But
anyway, so like...
That's another podcast.
Yeah, no, I'd love to do that. But yeah, even just talking about the Eucharist, it does make me yearn for the Eucharist more. And there is sorrow. I do want to express that it's okay to be sorrowful that you cannot receive the Eucharist. Like I said, it's something intimate. It's okay to miss that. Yeah. It's okay to yearn for that. But it is kind of appropriate that it is during Lent maybe that's a little sadistic. I don't know. But
we're in a desert for sure.
This is something that a lot of people... What did I say? I said there's a good chance no one is going to experience this again in our lifetimes. You know, people who will be born in the next X amount of years, they will not experience something like this. So our yearning, we have to express our yearning, our sorrow, to help future saints of the church, man. Like, just thinking about it does make me... I don't think it's hit me enough yet, though. Like, on a personal level, there is sadness, but when I get really sad is when I think about... I'm blessed to have a good young adult ministry that loves the Eucharist. And whenever they express... This sounds so weird. But whenever they express to me that they are so sad that they can't receive communion, I'm kind of happy. Yeah. Like, they get it. They get it. But... Mm-hmm. So I'm sad for them a little bit with a little bit of like sadistic happiness that they get it. But we mentioned it earlier. I am terrified of those who have no idea what they're missing. And I'm terrified that's going to stick around forever. And that's where my sorrow is coming from.
Yeah. And the therapist in me wants to say, like, we need to do something with that sorrow, you know, like that desire for intimacy, because it could be easy to just like shove it down or cover it up. You know, it's like, yeah, I mean, we got Disney Plus. Like, let's not think about anything.
Oh, yeah, we do. They just released Frozen 2. Hooray for me. No, my daughter's watched it like 6 times already. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you there.
I like Moana's, you know, I prefer Moana to Frozen. Sorry, it's just...
Well, I do too, but that is the half Filipino in me.
No.
Oh, don't. Please edit that, Keith, please.
No, leave it in. It's beautiful.
Okay. He's probably not going to even make it this far. So.
How's it been for you in your prayer life?
Oh, man, dude. I don't know, man, because there's so much urgency from work. And it wasn't even like brought upon me. I just felt the urgency, like, things are going to change. Things are going to change. And the reality is, because I work in youth ministry, my hours are kind of, we get home late. So there's not a lot of time to pray with your loved ones, like in the house. So my spiritual life has added another element. Brittany and I do pray. We do go to mass. We do all that stuff, but it's added a different intentionality, being able to be home and pray with my wife and my kids and everything. So that's brought a new thing for me. I have this... I want to go to confession really bad. I think that's what I want to do. I do go frequently, but I feel like I take it for granted, which is a whole different set of circumstances, because if you take the Eucharist for granted, you could kind of commit the sin of presumption, knowing that you could go frequently.
Yeah.
Now that that's potentially gone, I am more aware of God's presence in my life, and I'm more aware of my conscience during various trials of my life.
Yeah.
So I know that's like an elementary, like, just be a good person, moral thing, but that is peeking into my spirituality, and it is impacting my prayer life quite a bit. So
yeah. And that, Lent really is that time where we are more aware of our weakness and our inability to save ourselves or even just do good. Yeah. And so, what you're describing kind of sounded like, yeah, I mean, it's this is a time to realize we do need God's grace, and we are reliant on it. I mean, it is a gift, but we do need God's grace. And there probably is something that most Catholics glaze over in receiving the Eucharist that we are missing. And not to say God won't pour out his grace in other ways, but like when we go to Mass and receive the Eucharist, there is something happening there that maybe we don't see, and we're missing that.
Yeah, and look at the responses to like the quarantines and the isolations, and maybe this is just from young people, but like Netflix is now doing Netflix watch parties, right? We're talking about Zoom meetings for Bible studies and youth group and stuff like that. These stupid Zoomers all over the world during spring break are going to Miami beaches because they can't fathom the idea of not getting drunk with their friends, right? It's the most annoying thing ever. But not to say the other two things are as evil as that, because they're not evil at all. But at least for me, and I think a lot of people could relate to this, there is the idea of like, oh, I could do stuff on my own all the time. Like if I'm going to go to the grocery store, I don't have to go with 7 other people. If I have to get something done, I'm not going to ask help from anybody. I'm just going to get it done because they're just a hindrance to my progress. Yeah. But with the Eucharist being taken away, with us being quarantined, with all this type of stuff, it really does help us to recognize, like, man, community is something I yearn for. Like, really bad. Like, and it doesn't even have to be face to face, but like, I'm playing video games. I really want to play with my friends right now, but I just don't want to like just play with them. I want to talk to them while I'm playing with them. You know, like I'm yearning for that. And I think that's helping me to understand the Eucharist too. Like, I don't have to do this whole spiritual journey alone. You know, I don't have to pursue God just by myself. I should have God with me as I pursue God. You know, like it's brought things, it's made things a little bit more clear in that aspect. Because I tend to lean more introverted, and, you know, I could lock myself in a room, I thought, for days and just do my own thing. But I don't know.
Yeah, and that's one prayer I've found myself praying more this week is, like, God, help me to grow in a relationship with you. Like, because I don't know, it is harder to put down the remote or put down, you know, the phone at home and then start praying. Like, versus going to church. It's like, well, I'm going to go to Mass because, you know, I have to, or because, oh, I'm at work and there's Mass going on, or adoration. Yeah. It is harder at home. And I think the Holy Spirit can help us to grow in our prayer life, in our faith.
Yeah.
So it sounds weird. Some sort of weird paradox, right? Grace.
Yeah.
But God will help us to get to know him.
It's just such a weird time, man. Like, I don't know, there's going to be books written about this. There has to be so many saints coming from this pandemic. There has to be. Yeah, it's like a weird movie right now. I don't know. Well, speaking of weird movies, I think that's what I'm going to do in a minute. I'm going to go watch a weird movie. But I don't know. Something weird. I really like that movie Lady Bird. Have you ever seen Lady Bird?
Yeah.
Okay, so Greta Gerwig, that's the director. The only reason why I really liked or pretended to like the first Little Women that came out in the 90s is because Winona Ryder was in it, and I really like Winona Ryder. Yeah. But now I kind of want to watch the second one because Greta Gerwig did it. But
okay,
I don't know.
Yeah, I've been watching. So we got a free month of Hulu. So I've been watching Seinfeld.
Nice.
And Scrubs a little bit.
Oh, that's I loved that show. It's a little awkward to watch now, but
Yeah, yeah, but there's some hilarious. I love Turk and JD, man.
They're so funny.
And then I've been watching Last Man Standing. I've been catching up on that.
See, these are all shows that I've watched. So now that makes me feel better that you watch things that I watch, and that makes me feel like you're also weird. So that's good. It's true though. Just I was skeptical about it until now.
I am definitely weird, but
well,
it's like a different weird, you know. It's like slightly different.
Stop selling yourself short, please.
I don't stalk Vince Scully. That's the main difference.
I don't stalk Vince Scully. I just happen to be at the same mass that he was at, How many
times have you driven past his house on accident?
I don't know where he lives. Okay. Oh, I hate you. How many times have you tried to dig up the grave of C.S. Lewis?
I can't hop the fence. It's too high.
Well, okay. So we should probably wrap this up. We're going to have some content that is similar to this. We're going to judge the quality of it and kind of troubleshoot from there. We do have one episode that we recorded previously with our friend Sam Gonzalez. It's a little bit of a testimony from her. It's really good. We're going to try to upload this stuff on podcasting formats. So be on the lookout for that. I don't know. We should
without having to look at us, you know?
It takes away from the experience. It's like having communion taken away from you. You know, it's just
wow. That's
it just lacks the intimacy. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying we're divine.
I thought you were comparing us with receiving God Himself.
See, that's why you got to listen better.
Podcast form, I could do that, but I got distracted because I was looking.
See, that's why. You're not used to not looking at me. See how it threw you off already?
I guess so. Yeah.
You get it. Anyways, we're gonna do dumb stuff like we were just talking about Scrubs and other TV shows. Maybe we'll come up with top 5 lists for each other to enjoy these things during our quarantine times. And other stuff too. We'll try to do more Bible verses. We'll talk about all that nerdy stuff. But we're praying for you guys. It is difficult. Hopefully we brought some light to it. But it's okay to be serious. It's okay to be humorous. I don't know. It's just continue to pray. Like the yearning for the Eucharist is okay. I want that to be the theme of this whole thing. It's okay to yearn. It's okay to be sad. But what is our response to that? You know, we could still make disciples of all nations, even when we're secluded in our rooms somehow, you know?
And we don't have to be super depressed about it.
Right.
The gates of hell will not prevail against our church. This is not the end of our church. Mass is still going on somewhere. I know it. Private masses are still going on. You know, the devil has not won.
No. Even in those countries where people can't receive communion, God is still winning there. These people are willing to put their lives on the line to receive the Lord, you know? Let's stand in solidarity with those people.
Yeah. And have hope and, even have some humor. Like, it's okay to not be miserable all the time. Like, we shouldn't.
It's
shouldn't
true.
be like that.
Go buy Animal Crossing, too. My wife gave me permission to buy Animal Crossing, so we'll see how that goes.
I bought Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker or whatever that is.
Would, man. Animal Crossing has to be better than that game.
I've never played Animal Crossing. I don't even know what
I've never played either, but like again, this is a weird community thing, but like a bunch of our young adults bought it and they all want to play together. It's kind of cool.
Nice.
You're not invited though.
Well, I don't play online, and we also have to talk about your young adults' Minecraft creations.
Yeah. Are they obscene? I don't know. I know nothing about Minecraft.
So
are they bad?
Apparently, your young adults built on Minecraft a replica of your parish.
Oh god!
And they built St. Rose, which is just like a shack, and which I think is a good analogy for the fact that we're not as affluent as you guys. So
maybe
I told them, I was like, it's because we're poor, isn't it? You know, and their response was
poor in spirit. Yes, poor in spirit.
I don't know about that.
Wait, who told you?
The entire church is just like a shack, and I'm the only person in the entire church. I guess I am the church. That's
That is so funny. Well, you should be flattered because they probably didn't make a replica of me. They talk about you all the time, dude.
I don't know. They probably did, man.
Who told you about this stuff? I had no idea this was happening.
I want to expose them on this podcast.
You can tell me after. I find that's hilarious to me. That's so funny.
That's what they're doing in isolation there.
I mean, maybe you just need to get good and they'll treat you better. That's all it is.
Maybe I just need more money.
Yeah, maybe. You need more roots of evil. I get it.
A lotto ticket. Okay, we should wrap this up.
Okay, yeah, sorry. See, this is what happens when you get us in a free-form format.
Any topics that we should talk about, any ideas, that would be awesome to have. And we are on social media, Instagram. Shoot us an email. Hit that like button, subscribe, ring that bell.
Yeah.
All I got. Anything else?
Oh yeah, 1 like equals 1 what, Adam? Because you suck at this. I love doing this every time.
Equals 1 B. Because I have one here. Is that not good enough?
I do love BB-8. I thought I was gonna hate BB-8. I ended up loving BB-8.
I can't satisfy you, Brad. I don't know how to do this. 1 like equals.
No, BB-8 was good. I said it was good.
Puppies weren't good enough for you, but BB-8
Puppies was the absolute worst one. Anyways, we gotta go. We gotta figure this out. Thank you guys for watching or listening or whatever. I have no idea what this is gonna sound like, but hopefully it's tolerable for all you guys.
Yeah. Stay healthy.
Yes, please wash your hands. Sing Happy Birthday by Stevie Wonder twice as you are washing your hands. That's how it goes. All right. See you guys later. Hopefully Keith will put an outro here. All right.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
Bye.